All right, we are almost at the end. This is a little test review video for you, kind of putting everything in perspective for us. So the first thing is really understanding what your formulas are. Because you have all the formulas in front of you, it's can you use those formulas appropriately? So number one, in the equation for a pyramid's volume, V equals 1/3 big B times H. Volume equals 1/3 big B's base area times H, which is height. What does the big B stand for? That big B stands for the base area. Remember, every shape could have a different base. In a cylinder, your base is a circle. In a prism, it could be a triangle, it could be a rectangle, it could be a pentagon, it could be a hexagon. So the big B stands for the base area. Whatever that base is what you're going to find the area of. And then you have to go to your two-dimensional area formulas for that. Number two, in the equation for a cylinder's lateral area, we get LA equals big P times H. What does the P stand for? So that is the perimeter of the base. With a cylinder, remember the cylinder has a circular base, so the perimeter of a cylinder's base is actually the circumference, which on your formula sheet you have is 2 times pi times r. So it's important to pay attention to the shape of the base. In a prism, the base is the non-rectangular side. Unless it's a rectangular prism, then any of the sides can be used. All right, so when we look at the next one, what is the height of the pyramid? Well, first you have to know which one is the pyramid. This right here is your pyramid. This is asking for the height of the pyramid itself. So if this is the pyramid, this is its height, the distance from the base to the top. So that's going to be 4 centimeters. What is the slant height of the pyramid? This one is a little bit more difficult because we have 2 heights that are actually slanted. We have the edge of the pyramid, which is not it, which sometimes we confuse. The slant height is the height of the triangular face of the pyramid. So that's going to be 5 centimeters. What shape are the bases of the prism? So we're switching shapes here. The last 2 had to do with the pyramid. Now we're here in the prism. This is the prism. And remember, the prism, the base of the prism is the non-rectangular side. So if I look at this, the shape of my base is a triangle. It's the non-rectangular side. What is the height of the prism? Now you would say that the height of the triangle is 8, but that's not what it's asking for. It's asking for the height of the prism. The height of the prism is how far are you extending one base to the other base. So what's the distance between your 2 bases? And in this case, it's going to be 20 meters. What is the perimeter of the base? So that's your triangle. So the perimeter, we have to add up all those sides. We've got 8 plus 15. And then all of a sudden we realize that we're missing one of the sides of our base. We have to do Pythagorean Theorem. Leg squared plus leg squared is equal to that hypotenuse squared. And we find that that missing side is 17. So we have to add 17 to that. 8 plus 15 plus 17 gives us a perimeter of 40 meters. Remember, the length of a side is in meters or feet or inches, one dimension. Area is units squared. Volume is units cubed. So we've spent a lot of time lately on our 3-dimensional objects. So we're going to review our 2-dimensional real fast because this is the older material. Find the area of the shaded region. So if I'm looking at the shaded region, remember I have to think about how do I get just the shaded? Because if I find the area of the rectangle, that's everything. If I find the area of the circles, that's just the circles. To find the shaded region, we do the area of the rectangle and we take out those 6 circles. The area of the rectangle, not too bad. Base times height. The base times the height, 24 times 16, giving us 384. Now we will find the area of the circle, that's pi times radius squared. And this one we've got to figure out. So remember, if this is 16, and I have 2 circles there, that means that this is 8 and this is 8, but that's the diameter. I break that in half to find each of my radii. And I could go this direction too if I wanted. But we find that our radius is actually going to be 4. So pi times 4 squared gives us 16 pi. But remember, that's only one circle. We have 6 of them. So we multiply 16 times 6, which means we're subtracting out 96 pi. We want to pay attention because if I ask for an exact answer, it's 384 minus 96 pi. If I want a rounded answer, we put the pi in our calculator. We do 384 minus 96 pi to give out 82.41 inches squared. We go down to the next one, finding the area of each of my shapes. Again, this is a review of our 2-dimensional objects. We want to focus on what shape do we have. So in this case, we have a trapezoid. I always identify the shape first, and that way you know where to go on your given formula sheet. The trapezoid's area is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. We look at the height. Here's the height, the distance between the bases, and we know which ones are the bases because the bases are the ones that run parallel to each other. So we've got a base up here, and we've got a base down here. Oh, we got to put some pieces together. 21 plus 68, this base is going to have a length of 89. Don't forget order of operations. This is in parentheses, so we want to simplify that first. So 1/2 times 28 times 161. We get 2,254 meters squared for the area of our trapezoid. Last one, the diagonals have a length of 20 and 21. So, it doesn't tell us if this is a kite or a rhombus, but it's telling me the diagonals. And we know whether it's a kite or a rhombus, the area formula is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So here's one of my diagonals. Here's my other diagonal. We get 1/2 times 20 times 21. And we get 210 meters squared. I want to make sure that we review the rhombus because we don't usually use the rhombus formula as much when we look at the 3-dimensional objects because there's not a lot of bases that are shaped like the rhombus. So just don't forget that the rhombus in the kite is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. All right, we are all set, and that finishes your test review.